The Atlantic slave trade, also called the transatlantic slave trade, was the largest long-distance movement of people in history.
It was the movement of over 12.5 million African slaves from Africa to the Americas.
The European age of exploration helped establish colonies all throughout the Americas, Africa, and Southeast America.
These colonies, along with the theory of mercantilism, helped Europe establish a trading empire.
Mercantilism is the belief that a nation's prosperity is based on its supply of gold and silver.
Slave trade was practiced at a constant level in the 1400s, and the need for slaves grew with the discovery of the Americas in the late 1400s.
Triangular trade connected Europe, Africa, and the Americas.
Manufactured goods, such as guns, iron products, or cloth, were brought from Europe to Africa in exchange for slaves.
Ships loaded with slaves from Africa would then take the Middle Passage to the Americas. The slaves that were traded would then work on the plantations.
The Americas would trade raw materials and cash crops for the slaves. These materials would be shipped to Europe and the process would restart.
Triangular trade greatly increased the production of cane sugar.
Plantations were soon established along the coast of Brazil and the Caribbean, which increased the demand for slaves even more.
The Americas also had a high need for enslaved Africans because the population of Native American slaves had begun to die off.
There was a very high death rate of African slaves. Almost 1 in 8 slaves died on the journey, and many others would die from diseases contracted while on the ships.
Before the Europeans came in the 1400s, the main source of slaves were prisoners of war.
Over 12.5 million slaves were shipped out of about a dozen major embarkation points and many other smaller points.
The slave trade deprived many Africans from their families and even caused depopulation in some areas.
The decline of the slave trade started when Quakers began to condemn it in the 1770s.
Other countries also began to condemn slavery, and France and Britain abolished it completely around 1790 to 1807.
Slavery continued in the United States of America until the Civil War started up during the 1860s.
Created using Powtoon.